Hello, we're going to do the very last Missouri government PowerPoint of the entire year. Your AP career will soon be over. Missouri government, you should have filled out your study guide by now. Those are very basic questions. I'm just going to highlight a couple things in this PowerPoint, some of the key things that you'll go over. This is a picture of the Missouri Capitol. We have been there, many of us, together when we went on the field trip. Capitol is in Jefferson City. The nickname or the state motto is the Show Me State. And on the right, you'll see the two bears, which stand for strength. And that's our state seal. It's pretty fun. Represents the 24 stars when we became a state in 1821. The motto, United we stand, divided we fall. There are several questions on this slide that deal with the test. You will need to know the first Missourians to inhabit were the Native Americans, the first Europeans, Marquette and Joliet, who went ahead and explored the Louisiana Purchase, Lewis and Clark. On the Missouri Compromise, Missouri entered as a slave state and Maine as a free state. The Constitution of Missouri, throughout our time, we have had 4 constitutions, the current one being in 1945. In 1820, we had to submit one to Congress in order to become a state. During the Civil War, we rewrote it at the end, and then 10 years later, had to change some things, so we rewrote it again. And then our last one was written in 1945, as I just said. The current one has 13 articles. You will need to know that as well. So 4 constitutions, 13 articles. It is much longer and more detailed than our current constitution. The very first article is the Bill of Rights, which says protections against state government. It details voting, elections, education. Remember, whatever is not given to the federal government is reserved to the states, so the state constitution is longer. 13 articles, 4 constitutions. Again, the first Americans were Native Americans, the first Europeans, Marquette and Joliet. The first people to explore this whole entire area were Lewis and Clark. And the Missouri Compromise, Missouri entered as a free state, Maine as a slave state in the Senate to keep the balance. How can you amend the Missouri Constitution? There are 3 ways to amend. By proposing it in the General Assembly, which is the normal route. We have to ratify any amendment by a majority of the votes. That was a question on your study guide. We can do it by constitutional initiative, also called popular initiative, where you sign a petition. The most recent one was trying to raise the minimum wage in Missouri. The General Assembly did not propose that, but that was done by voter initiative. Constitutional Convention, every 20 years on the ballot during the November election, they ask the voters of Missouri, do we need to revise it? And then they go back and visit that every 20 years. That is done. The next time you will see that on the ballot, if you're still living in Missouri in 2022 and 9 years, is 2022. It's going to be on the ballot. So 3 ways again to amend the Missouri Constitution: proposal, initiative, constitutional convention. I want to talk about the executive branch. These are the people who carry out state law. Governor Nixon, we have met his wife. She's in the upper left-hand corner, but the governor is the chief executive. He serves a 4-year term, and Missouri is term limited, so 2 4-year terms. Qualifications: you must be 30 years old, U.S. citizen 15 years, and live in the state. Those are 2 questions, well actually 3 right there. Chief executive, 4-year terms, 2-year term limit for 8 years total. 30 years, 15 U.S., 10 Missouri. The duties of a governor. You need to be familiar with what a state governor does. Again, he has appointment power just like the president. Instead of the State of the Union, he gives the state of the state. He is in charge of submitting a state budget. He has line item veto. That is different from the United States president. The U.S. president does not, but our governor on budgetary matters does have line item veto. He can sign regular bills, and he can also veto. He does grant pardons, a reprieve, or a commutation of a prison sentence. And there are actually 2 ways to call a special session. That's on the test as well. A special session can be called into session by the governor, or if both houses agree. He's also commander-in-chief of our state militia. There are other executive officers who help the governor. These all fall in under the executive branch. Lieutenant governor is very similar to the Vice President of the United States. If the governor passes away, it goes to the lieutenant governor. He helps with official duties of the governor, but he is the president of the Senate. He may vote to break a tie, and he serves as governor upon the governor's death. The Secretary of State has several responsibilities. First of all, she is in charge, or Robin Carnahan currently is the chief election official. I think that job is switched. Anyway, you don't need to know the names of the officials, but she is our chief election official. Anything regarding elections, dates, authenticating ballots and results is done by the Secretary of State. She is also in charge of all the records, so any official document that needs the seal of the state of Missouri is done through the Secretary of State's office, and she is custodian of the Great Seal of Missouri. So those are 3 large things. Oh, you guys know this person, our auditor. We met him, Thomas Schweit, is in charge of investigating fraud. The treasurer invests state funds, and the attorney general is the top lawyer for the state of Missouri. So he does prosecute and defend state law. So again, those are your key areas: Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, State Auditor, State Treasurer, and State Attorney General. You will see all of those positions on the ballot. In November, we vote for those in on-year presidential election years or off-year. This is a governor's mansion. It's a beautiful place. We toured this if you were with us in Jeff City. All right, let's look at the legislative branch. The General Assembly is what we call the legislature in the state of Missouri. It is bicameral. We have 2 houses, a House of Representatives and the Senate. It was interesting. I just put this in because I'm a historical person, you know. The first seat of state was actually in St. Louis, and then St. Charles was the temporary capital. When we entered the Union, Jeff City became the permanent capital in 1826. In 1837, the first capital in Jeff City burned. The second structure was completed in 1840 and was struck by lightning, which is the picture on the left. In 1911, the Capitol actually burnt down. The present Capitol was completed under budget in 1917. It is made of limestone, quarried in Missouri, and has very little wooden structure in it. So unlike the other capitals, it's pretty sturdy. This is a picture of the Capitol being built. We have one of the largest Capitol buildings out of all 50 states, so it's pretty impressive. You should be proud of our Missouri Capitol. It's quite beautiful. All right, key things that I need you to understand for the test. For the House of Representatives, we have 163 members. You will have to memorize that number: 163 in the House, 34 in the Senate. We actually have District 27, 28, and 29. Representative Conway, Dallas Johnson, Galen Higdon. I do not ask you their names, but you will be voting for these people. They are term limited. That is important to know, that they can serve 4 two-year terms. To be eligible for the member of the House, 24 years old, 2 years voter, live in the district that you represent. Again, term limited, 2-year terms, 8 years total. And the salary, just roughly, is between $36,000 to $40,000. Remember, we are a part-time legislature. We're only there from January to May, so they do make a nice salary for part-time, but they work year-round. The chief legislator is the Speaker of the House. The ratio in the House, it is dominated by Republicans, and the average number of constituents is 31,000. This is a picture of the House chamber in the legislature. It's a beautiful room, and that's where the House of Representatives meets. The Senate chamber, there are only 34 in the Senate chamber, and our current senator is Senator Rob Schaaf. You can see right here, we are Senate District, 34. Gosh, I wasn't thinking there. So Senator Schaaf is actually our senator. There are 34 members of the Senate. Here is a difference that you need to memorize. In the Senate, they only serve 4 years, so 8 years total. 4 years, 8 years total. Qualifications, 30 years old, qualified voter, 3 years, live in the district. Again, current Senate district, 34th district, Rob Schaaf is our current one. The President Pro Temp is a very powerful person and also the majority floor leader. Those people are, it's a little different in Missouri, but they are crucial to guiding legislation. Again, the President Pro Temp and the majority floor leader. The leader of the Senate, as I said before, is the Lieutenant Governor. The Senate Pro Temp is the next in line. This is a different from the U.S. level. So it goes Governor, Lieutenant Governor, the Senate Pro Temp, then the Speaker of the House. The Senate duties, they do try impeachment cases. This is a little different, and I will clarify that tomorrow morning. But I do want you to know that Republicans, again, have it. The earlier chart I showed you was District 27, 28, and 29 for the House, but we have the 34th District in the Senate. This is a rotunda, beautiful, the grand stairwell. A lot of lobbyists meet here. This is a great press conference room. The Thomas Hart Benton Room is very popular. It's a beautiful building. All right, the last thing you need to know, we did visit the judicial branch. 7 justices. We do have the Missouri plan where people submit 3 names. A commission submits 3 names to the governor, and then the governor appoints people to be judges in the state of Missouri. After 1 year, judges are placed on the ballot for a retention vote. So during your lifetime, you might see judges on the ballot. That is for a retention vote, and justices in Missouri serve for 12 years. It is not a lifetime appointment if you're on a Missouri state court. We have 3 levels in the state. The circuit court, if you are ever on jury duty, you'll probably report to circuit court. That's where the trial is. Then we have a Missouri Court of Appeals and the Missouri State Supreme Court. Again, 7 justices serve on that. And that is a current view of the Missouri State Supreme Court building. If you were with us in Jeff City, the justices live on the 3rd floor. The 2nd floor houses the State Supreme Court courtrooms. And then this side is the Attorney General's office, and this side is Supreme Court administrative offices. All right, the last thing, this is just a picture of the current Supreme Court in Missouri. The Chief Justice serves on a rotating schedule. It's not a lifetime appointment. It's more of an administrative role. Zell Fisher, I don't think Zell Fisher is in this picture, but he was the Supreme Court Justice that we met with from Missouri, or Supreme Court Judge, I should say. They are called judges. Qualifications. For Missouri, you have to be 30 years old, licensed to practice law, U.S. citizen 15 years, registered voter in Missouri for 9 years. And in Missouri, you must retire at the age of 70 if you are on the Supreme Court. There's just some pictures. Again, here was Zell Fisher. Here was the one that we met with when we were down in Jeff City. All right, just a couple last things. I thought it was interesting if you wanted to know the salaries. I don't think that's a test question, but this one is legislative sessions are part-time. They start in January and they must end in May. So they are about ready to wrap up their session. Congressmen can pre-file bills to hit the ground running because it's such a short time. They can start pre-filing in December, so they are ready to go on the first Wednesday in January when they start the session. Missouri elections, remember to be a qualified voter. We prevent fraud. We do have federal and state elections on the same day, and that is November, but you'll also notice state and local elections in April and in August as well. To register to vote in Missouri, you must be 18 years old and live in Missouri. On city government, this is the last thing. We have a mayor, city council, city manager form. We do elect the mayor and the city council in the city of St. Joseph, and the city council hires a city manager to manage the day-to-day functions. That is currently Bruce Woody. This is our old city manager. His name was Vince Capel. Our mayor currently is Bill Faulkner. This is outdated right here, the city manager. Again, it's Bruce Woody. And then this was a picture of the city council. All right, that is it. We separate by city council. You guys have pretty much seen most of the information. The last couple slides just deal with Missouri government. This is where we receive most of our money. Most money comes from personal income tax. That's a test question, personal income tax. And we spend most of our money in Missouri on education. Right here, most of our money is spent on education. All right, I hope that helps. Good luck in studying for the Missouri government test. You guys are going to do great.